Depending on the person, sometimes the most important thing is getting rid of the pain. So now we're getting more medical with it versus the coaching philosophy. Because what we do know in the science is that although you can push through the pain, because I talk about pain a lot, obviously, in my world, and people say, I can take it, it's fine. Although you can push through the pain, your body will not function the same when in the presence of pain. You will alter the way you use your muscles. You will alter your biomechanics. It's not conscious. You can't control it. So these people who are running through pain are not doing any good for their body. Sooner or later, something else is going to break down. And even though they can tolerate it, because they can, mentally, they've got, I can suck it up. I can suck it up. Well, the only time I have someone suck it up is when they've been training for a year and there are events coming up, and come hell or high water, they're going to do it. All right, so let's talk about what we can do so you can suck it up and get through your event, and then we'll put you back together after. But these people who are doing this on a regular basis and are popping Advil before every run just to get through their run, oh God, that's just a rabbit hole they don't want to go down.
All right, here we are for another episode of the Yogi Triathlete Podcast. I've got this guy here who I've known for most of my life. I'm actually sitting in my house, the house that I grew up in Westport, Massachusetts, with him at my kitchen table. Anyway, when we started this podcast back in 2016, we were here in Rhode Island, Newport, Rhode Island, which is super close to where I grew up. And we had some guests that we wanted to get on, and Mike was one of them. But we were actually leaving town. Mike's schedule was busy, and we wanted to hit the road to get to Lake Placid. It didn't pan out, and that was 3 years ago. And now I'm sitting here with Mike Silva of Foundationperformance, and he has totally revolutionized the revolutionized.
That's big.
The rehabilitation of athletes and runners, and helping them to understand that prehab and nutrition and body awareness and taking care of the little things that will keep you in the game longer, because we all want to be doing this longer. I don't know. I think it's a rare case when athletes want to jump in and jump out. Yeah. So without further ado, I have Mike Silva here from Foundation Performance. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Back in the Gumkowski kitchen. And
does it feel weird?
It's kind of nostalgic. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's good to have you.
Yeah. This is trip down memory lane right now. Because, we were good high school doobies. I don't think a beer was shared in this kitchen.
I don't think so either.
I think you had a party one summer in college.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. We were really goody two-shoes, I think, up until college, because high school, weren't we going into classrooms and talking about not doing alcohol and drugs in high school?
Do right. We did right.
So Mike and I both went to Bishop's Thang High School.
Spartans.
Yeah. So, all right. So before we jump ahead, because there's so many things I want to talk about.
We're going to go off on way too many tangents.
So many tangents.
Bear with us.
Mike is a super talented dude.
No,
so he did play the drums growing up, right?
I did.
You had a drum set?
I did. And
do you still have it?
It's funny you ask. So played when I was younger, stopped playing in high school, focused on sports and girls and school. And then gave it up for a long time, started playing again when I became a professional, then stopped when I had kids because I didn't have time. And then my son, who's a phenomenal musician, who's now 16, has been playing guitar since he was 4, kind of motivated me to get into it. So started playing again, invited some friends to come over, and now we have a middle-aged men band. We literally call it MAM, M-A-M, middle-aged men.
That's great.
And we would just get together once a week and play, and it was fun. And then it turned into us doing a performance in front of, 20, 25 people. We did a little outdoor concert in Dartmouth, not far from Bishop's Thang.
So let me ask you, so your son, Jack
Jack
is 16 now. He started when he was 4. When did you start playing drums?
I started playing drums probably 7, 8, 9.
You remember that? You remember?
I remember I was young.
Yeah.
And I remember I tried to play the guitar, but it hurt my fingers. I tried to play the keyboard, but there were too many keys on the piano. And then I used to bang on pots and pans, so I went to the drums, and I'm kind of tone deaf, but I have rhythm. So I realized, I can slap drums and hit things and in an organized
so
fashion.
that was a more natural fit.
Yeah.
So you stopped doing it and did it again. So is it something that's second nature? You feel like it's ingrained in you now? Like you could pick it up at any time? And
Yeah. And when the times I have, my wife, who's very supportive, Carla's like, you're kind of a better person when you play drums. Like you're more relaxed.
Yeah, Carla.
Yeah. She's like, you need to, because she's very creative and artsy, and a lot of hers comes out in her cooking and her smoothies and all that kind of stuff. And I never had that outlet. So getting back to drums kind of fed that side of my brain, and it's good.
So when you fall away from these things, what is pulling your attention away when you work?
Yeah, always.
So what do you do? So let's start with what's your background and what do you do now?
Okay. I became a physical therapist in 1999. Before that, I went to school for exercise science at University of Rhode Island. Graduated, worked for a year in the exercise kind of post-rehab world. I ran a program for people coming out of physical therapy and going into fitness, and kind of was that transition. Applied to PT school, got in, went to UMass for PT. That's where I met Carla, my wife.
UMass Lowell?
UMass Lowell, yep. Graduated in, I think, 98, like the fall of 98. And then my wife and I took the test, got engaged the day we took our board exam, big day. Became therapists, and we started working in different companies. And
wait, how did you propose to Carla?
Oh, man, this is crazy. It's not really that crazy. I had no plan. I knew we'd taken the board exam, and I knew it was December 17th, and I knew we were just going to go out and celebrate after. So I put an engagement ring in my pocket, took my board exam with an engagement ring in my pocket. Anyone listening?
Pressure. Talk about pressure.
Yeah. Anyone listening, don't do that. Because the whole time I'm trying to answer questions thinking about, holy shit, I'm going to get married. Like, this is crazy. I swear, I'm sorry.
Of course. Yeah. You can say whatever you want. Yeah.
So anyway, test was done. We went out, had dinner, had a glass of wine. We were just doing our thing, and I didn't know what we were going to do. And then we ended up at La Salette Shrine. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes, the lights.
Yeah, because it was right before Christmas. We went to see the lights. This is a really deep story. Do you want to hear it?
Yes, yeah.
All right. So we're walking around, and I'm like so nervous. She has no clue. And we go in to see this. They have all these different like nativity scenes or something. So for those of you who don't know, it's like a Catholic. There's a church there. It's really religious, but it's beautiful. It's lit up. So people from all religions go just to enjoy the lights. So we go in, and this guy comes up to us, and he was talking to Carla, and he was so complimentary. He was like, wow, look at your eyes. They're so beautiful. Look, you're like an angel, this and that. It wasn't in a creepy way. So he was talking to us for about 5 minutes, and he looked at me. Again, I don't know this guy. He goes, what are you waiting for? Because first he asked if we were brother and sister. He said, there's some sort of connection with you guys. I get it. Then he looked at me and goes, when he found out we were boyfriend and girlfriend, he's like, what are you waiting for? He said, you better snatch this girl up. And he literally said, what are you waiting for? An angel with a golden hammer to hit you on the head? So Carla had no clue again. So then we left there, and there's people everywhere. So I didn't know. I'm like, I don't want to do this with everyone around. And we went to this one section, and literally it got empty. No one was around. It was like, I remember there was like all these white angels. And I just knelt down and asked her, and I said, you know how the guy said he waiting for it? Man, it's good. An angel with a golden hammer to hit me on the head. I said, I think he was my angel. And I proposed to her. So it was awesome. And then we went back, and he was like doing backflips. And he was like, I knew there was something about you two. I knew there was something here. So yeah, that's how it happened.
You and Carla, have you guys always been that, not spiritual, but in a way of like, well, you see a sign, you see the writing on the wall, or do you guys need to see the proof? Because you're both coming from a very concrete scientific background in sports.
Yeah. I don't want to talk for her, but she's a very spiritual person. I was brought up, as a guilt-ridden Portuguese Catholic. You and I went to Catholic school.
Yes.
So I've got my opinions on the Catholic Church as a business and as an organization. So yes, we're spiritual, and through my wife, I've become much more open-minded and more spiritual and not just religious. So I wouldn't consider us like active practicing Catholics at all, but I think we're more connected and more spiritual than we've ever been, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So, and that's all through her influence. And like we kind of hit before, what took me away from music? Work. What took me away from spirituality? Work.
Yeah.
So it's a much better balance now that I'm 46.
All right. Wow, that was a great. This is so good.
All right.
So so continue with the story.
All right. So became physical therapist. There it is. And then we moved to Rhode Island, bought our first house. I got a job working at a company in Rhode Island. One of the jobs I turned down, just for whatever reason, I forget. I told them, I said, listen, I can't accept the job, but I have someone for you who you're going to love and you're going to hire. And they said, who's that? I said, my wife. I'm like, we're moving. She needs a job. So they did an interview and they hired her. So we both worked in Cranston, Rhode Island. And at that point, I started working, and I was really discouraged with physical therapy and realized I was working with a population that I wasn't really thrilled about. I was working at a clinic that saw mostly motor vehicle accidents and workers' compensation cases. So everyone had a lawyer involved. Some of those people really did need help, and I was glad to help them. And a lot of them, I hate even saying this, but just wanted to make their case and not want to go back to work. So I was doing my best, and they weren't participating. So very unmotivated.
So you're going through the motions, but you're fighting that inner battle of like, I'm not really aligned. This isn't where I see myself, but you could do the work because you understood there was...
I was getting a paycheck.
Right.
I was getting a paycheck. I was doing what I was paid to do, but I was so not fulfilled at all. And right around that time, we got pregnant. So, we knew Carla was going to back off from her job, and she was doing great. She was killing it at her job. And I said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. So I actually was going to leave the world of physical therapy. I got offered a job at Medtronic, the biggest medical device company in the world, one of the biggest, and was seconds away from accepting that until Carl and I sat there and talked, and we realized I love what I do. I just don't like where I'm doing it and who I'm doing it with. So it was then when we decided to start our own business and attract the clients we wanted to attract. So you remember Field of Dreams? The movie?
Yes.
If you build it, they will come.
Yep.
That was literally our mantra.
So how did that conversation go when you were going to take that job? You were moments away, and you're taking this job because of money.
Totally. Well, because I was unhappy, and I just needed to do something different.
So this wasn't necessarily the end stop. This was just something different.
It was different. It could have been. I don't know. At that point, I was just so discouraged, thinking I spent all these years in school, all this money. Carl and I paid for our education on our own. It was a lot of money. I'm like, what? And I'm miserable. I'm like, did I make the wrong choice? Did I make what's going on? So Carl and I literally pulled an all-nighter. And thankfully, the guy who I interviewed with was an asshole, and he turned me off. And that kind of helped solidify the decision. He was a typical New York salesy kind of guy. And he literally called me 10 o'clock at night. Oh, you got the job. We're going to send you 2 tickets to Minneapolis, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, whoa.
You would go work. You were going to work in Minneapolis?
I did to be trained. That's where they're based out. I think Minnesota, somewhere out there, Midwest. And I said, listen, I forget his name. We'll call him Joe. I said, Joe, listen, I'm honored. Thank you. But as you know, this is a huge life change for me. We're about to have a child. I said, I got to think about this. It was Thursday night. I said, can I call you on Monday? And he literally, I'm going to swear again. He literally on the phone, this is a guy who's going to be my future boss, said, are you a fucking idiot? Do you know what I'm offering you? And I was like, whoa, I'm not a fucking idiot. I do know what you're offering me, but I need time to think about it. And he said, I'm calling you at 7 a.m. Have an answer. Hung up the phone. And it was a lot of money. It was a very lucrative job.
Which makes the decision extremely challenging for someone, right, who's in that space. You're still in that space of finding what you love.
Exactly.
And doing it for the sake of loving it and not so much for the money. The money will come.
Yeah.
Versus I need money, I'm having a family. All the real world thoughts that enter and flood into your mind, right? Elevating the stress. Probably elevating the stress in Carla too.
Oh, absolutely. But she was so good about it. And there she is pregnant at the time, right? So we sat almost all night just talking back and forth.
Do you remember that?
Oh, God, yeah.
Night, yeah.
Yeah. Remember my house in Cranston? Remember that little ranch we had? Yeah. Behind the Garden City shopping area. Yeah. Love that little place. So I remember sitting in the kitchen there and in the living room, and then we just walked around the house and we were talking. And then that's when she said, go for it. Let's just do this. And I called him back the next morning, and the guy was not happy and dropped more F-bombs on the phone. And I was like, all right, I feel good about this. And then so when my son was born, May of 2003, get a load of this. My son was born, my first child. I turned 30. I quit my job and went fully on my own to start a business all in the same month. And I looked at Carla and said, if I don't grow up now, it ain't never happening. And I still haven't grown up, but...
right. We're never going to grow up.
No, but it was, thank God she's been... Where I am today and where the business is would not be there without Carla. No one knows that because I'm the face and the name behind it. Some people that know us well enough know it, but...
Yeah, so I can tell you from being across the country, like what I see is... Foundation Performance and Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
Until now, because now you've got a social media presence. Now I see it all. But so in that decision process, when you quit your job and you're deciding to go all in, all in. So you wake up the next day, you turn down the job. What's like flooding through your awareness?
So I had started doing some like part-time personal training, exercise consultations while I was still working for the other company, and I was starting to cut hours because I knew something had to change. And boss, the guy I worked for, he was great. He knew I wasn't going to be there forever. He knew I had other plans, and as long as I was honest and didn't steal his patients, he was fine with it. So I had a small office. It started in the basement of my house in Cranston. People would come to me, and I did consultations in there because we refinished it, and then I would drive all over New England. I would be in Narragansett, Rhode Island, to Foxborough, to Mansfield, to Providence, seeing clients.
Working at different gyms?
Gyms and houses.
And houses, okay.
Yeah, I've got thrown out of 3 different gyms in New England.
Yeah, because don't you need like, if you're going to train somebody, you technically, I mean, we run up against this in swimming pools. Like if you're technically going to guide someone, like coach someone, you need to get certified.
There's a liability thing. There's a monetary thing going on. But yeah,
you got kicked out of 3 places.
I got thrown out of 3 gyms and a university in my career. Yeah, funny stories. So yeah, I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? But I had the building blocks set a little bit, so it was a little bit easier of a transition. And then it was all self-pay, and I was just doing more on the exercise side. I wasn't doing much hands-on physical therapy. And then it started to grow. I was turning away business and sending all the people who wanted like insurance-based physical therapy to a guy I knew who had his own physical therapy clinic. And then Carla's like, what are you doing? Like, we're doing okay, but you're turning away so much money. It's like, just start taking insurance.
Why wouldn't you do insurance? Because this is something where maybe it's just your hard line where you're like, I just don't want to do insurance. I was doing it back when I was working the workers' comp. And
so I had
old, like stirring up some old things.
Yeah. And it's just, I didn't want to go down that road and start getting the workers' comp and the motor vehicle accident and start working with population that I wasn't fulfilled and didn't kind of fill my cup as a professional, for lack of a better way of describing it. So I was a little hesitant, and just the administrative burden that comes with it. But Carla's like, let's do it. So we did. And then Carla would do she was doing the billing from home. So she was kind of like the administrative person. And then I started getting really busy. So I needed to hire a therapist. Started getting really busy, hired a front desk person. Started getting really busy. I hired a trainer to do the personal training because I was needed to do more of the therapy. And what started off as me in my basement in Cranston now is 19, 20 employees, 3 different offices. Big. It's a whole different animal now, which is great. But we've always stayed true to who we wanted to work with, and we don't chase money. I could be making a lot more money as a business owner and as a practice by seeing certain populations that don't fulfill us. So I go to bed at night. I can sleep because I worked with motivated clients. We do right by our people. We keep active people active. We keep healthy people healthy. It's just and I've had therapists who work for me over the years say, I don't know what you've done, but you have the best patients in the world.
What is your ideal patient? What's your audience that you feel most aligned with?
So me personally, as you know, I'm in the kind of distance running world. And so I fell into that, and that I love it. I love everything about it. And I just, I've thrived in it, and it fills my cup, and I just happen to thankfully do well in that field. But as a business, people who are motivated, they know they're either suffering with injury or pain, and we can help get rid of the pain. They're suffering because they can't reach their health and fitness goals for some reason. So what started as a typical, you get hurt, we'll bill your insurance, you come and we're going to get rid of your pain, and then we'll send you back. So now we do everything from Carla's a wellness and nutrition coach, so she does some of that. I do tons of preventative work. With my runners, I'm doing slow motion video analysis and getting them on programs before they get hurt. So now people are coming to us because they know we can help them meet their overall just health, fitness, and wellness goals. So we are just flooded with motivated, positive people in our offices of all ages. Some are self-pay, some are insurance, and some are maybe workers' comp, or they may have been in a motor vehicle accident. But the people who refer to us know what we do and what we do well, and that's the type of clients we're getting.
Can you see how strong the mind is attached to the past? So when you heard Carla say, let's take insurance, your mind is attached to the experience that you had
all negative.
Working with all negative. When she's like Jess, like that voice of like challenge to just explore it a little bit more. It may not be the solution, but it could be an opportunity or it could not. But you need to go explore that. And it sounds like that's what's happened.
Oh, God, yeah.
And for the athletes that you see, where's the gap between giving them what they need to do and the actual execution?
Yeah, we have extremely motivated clients. They're motivated for their 10K, their marathon, their triathlons, these and the end goals, as you say. And they will run through a wall to get rid of their pain so they can keep training. If I told them literally, like, run through that wall and sing Jingle Bells while you're doing it, they would do it. And then as soon as the pain goes away and they're back training, they kind of fall off of it, right? Sound familiar to you?
Yeah, everything's good.
Yeah, everything's good. I don't need to. And that's when, so 15 years ago when I started working this population, that's when I developed my Run Strong program. People don't have the time. They don't have the mindset of this self-care and all this auxiliary training that they need to do to keep them healthy, right? Some do because they battled injury and they really see it. The ones that don't are like, well, I'm doing well. I'm fine. I'm just going to put in more miles. I don't need to warm up. I don't need to foam roll. I don't need to do this until pain comes back again. So I developed a Run Strong program, and we would have, when I started, we had 2 classes that ran twice a week. So an hour class back to back. So 4 classes total. And we had them sold out. I would see 20 people a class, so 40 people a night twice a week. And basically what we did is we foam rolled. We taught them how to foam roll so they can continue to do it at home. We taught them proper ways to do dynamic warm-up. More of not like running drills like A skips and B skips, but more of preparation to even do their running drills.
Activation.
Yeah, like wake up what we need to wake up, open up what we need to open up. And then we did strengthening, because historically endurance athletes don't spend time strengthening.
Well, they're caught up in the number.
Yeah, and then back then, now I think with this shift, I mean, fitness is all over the place in a good and bad way sometimes. But back then, people thought strength training was weight training. And they think of bodybuilders, And like, no. So it took me a while to convince people. And even some of the females who were so concerned about putting on, well, I gain muscle too fast. I don't want to put on any weight. And I would tell them, 1 pound of muscle, even though, you may be 1 pound heavier, is so functional. You're going to be such a better athlete at that 1 pound. But the type of strength training we were doing we're not building hypertrophy. We're not putting on weight on people. So just getting to see that. So anyway, so that's what we did. That's how the Run Strong program came out, and it's evolved over the years, which we can talk about maybe with some of the other questions.
So what is Run Strong? Just give them a brief.
It started off just as that class, and then I did that for years, and I got burnt out. So I was treating about 80 to 100 patients a week, doing physical therapy. I was doing like lots of free public talks.
Hold on, my dad's making some cocktails over here.
Oh, another water. Thank you, sir.
2 waters. We're good.
The G's are awesome. So it started just as the class, and then I would go out and I would talk at some small local running clinics or for running groups, and I would teach them about injury prevention. And then I stopped doing the class because I got burnt. And then I kept having requests to bring the class back. So then I trained some therapists who worked for me to do the class. So now we have 2 people in my Plainville office I can run the class. I'm going to be training 2 in my Pawtucket office. So we're going to bring, over the past few years, we've been bringing the class back. So there's that part of it. But also what kind of grew out of this is I started doing more public speaking, and my Run Strong as a whole philosophy became more of a philosophy than just a class, because now, and as I evolved as a therapist, it's not about foot strikes and arm swings and cadence. It's about, are you well rested? Are you hydrated? How's your nutrition? How's your stress levels? Are you doing your stretching? Are you doing your mobility work? Are you doing your strengthening? So it turned into this whole runner's health type of program. So then what we did through a local running store, Roadrunner, RHODE Runner, give them a little plug here, best running store around in Providence. We started doing these one night, I think we called it Run Strong One Night Learning and Doing Clinic, something like that. It would be a 3-hour night, and we would sell out 60, 70 people. They would clear the store, move all the shelves out of the way, and I would do an hour and a half lecture about runner's health and then put them all through a Run Strong class, like the traditional class we did. And everyone went home with like a goodie bag of swag and self-care devices, foam rollers, lacrosse balls, mini bands. And then they also had the handout of all the exercises we did, so they knew how to do this at home, and we talked about how to progress it. So that's kind of how Run Strong has evolved. And now, over the years, I've had the fortunate opportunity of doing a lot of, I hate calling it lecturing, because that sounds boring, presenting, lecturing, or speaking in front of large groups.
Yeah, you did Wazel's camp.
Yeah, the biggest one, which was still one of the funnest events I've ever did, is the running event. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's the biggest running shoe industry event in the country, if not the world, I believe. And if I'm wrong, no one shoot me, but it was really big.
Where is it? So
it was in Austin, Texas at the time. I think it's now down in Florida. I forgot what year this was, but it was right when I started working with Molly Huddle and Saucony, who's her sponsor. I went to their world headquarters, which is in Massachusetts, and we did all this work on their, they've got like $1 million 3D analysis motion lab. So I was really trying to help Molly out, getting her balanced, improving her strength and conditioning work, and they helped me do that. And through that connection with Saucony, they asked me if I would go to this event. They put a panel as myself and a guy named Jay Deshari. He's out in Bend, Oregon. He's a genius. Love this guy. Another
big running community out there in Oregon.
Yeah, and Jay's, if you guys, he's written 2 books for runners, not for the coach, but for the layman, and they're great. And Jay's a good guy. So anyone listening, look him up. But anyway, it was the head biomechanical engineer for Saucony, Jay, and myself, and we all had 3 different approaches to talk about running. There were some coaches, lots of running store professionals, and I came in and talked about collaboration and how the healthcare world and the running stores could collaborate together, and how we can really get to runners before they get hurt, and teaching them how to educate their runners and when to refer out and how to build networks and what to look for in a physical therapist. And it was great. So I think the audience was about 1,200 people, which was the biggest I've ever presented at that point. Then I've been invited to a couple different coaches clinics throughout the country, and then did the Wazel camp. So there was, I forget how many, 200 and something female runners, and I did the same type of thing. I did a lecture, kind of a runner's health, injury prevention type of lecture. Then we did a Run Strong class, and then I stayed on. I was there for 2 days, and I think I saw 38 women for one-on-one consultations in 2 days.
I think Liz, one of our athletes,
yeah, that's where I met her.
Was our member who just raves about you, and Michelle in
Plainville.
Yeah.
We just I just saw her up there when we were taking pictures for the social media.
Photo,
yeah, she's awesome. But in Wazel was great, and there was just literally Liz, who's amazing. It was like 200-300 people like Liz who were just there because they love running, want to get healthier, positive. It was awesome.
This is what baffles me a little bit. Like, you're giving out all this information to runners, mm-hmm. and you're explaining to them the benefits of doing all this stuff, and here's the exercises you do, and they walk away with the keys to the kingdom, right? Mm-hmm. This is it. This is all you need to do.
Yep.
But again, I don't think all the people are understanding that this information needs to be adhered to and to bring it into your lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Make it part of your life.
You know what? It's not sexy. And, to build this foundation of a good runner's health and performance program, so to get someone in the mindset that this is what needs to be there first, and then you can worry about what kind of 5K program is going to look like, or what coaching philosophy you should follow. It's not sexy, and I call it the no thank you stuff. Like, it's not fun. It takes time. But the ones who stick with it, I have dozens of testimonials from people who say, my running's easier. I'm running faster. I am not in as much pain. I don't get hurt as much. We're actually running with a really big school, anywhere between 180 and 200 kids on their cross-country team every season. Big school. The coach is so motivated. We screened all his kids, basically implemented a Run Strong type of program that and this guy's a spreadsheet master, and he literally has stats, and we're going to do it again this year, of how much better his team is doing and the fewer injuries that he's seeing just by implementing the program.
So you're getting your own research study done, basically.
And this
is high school kids?
High school, yeah.
Cross country,
track and field, but all distance.
What does the initial assessment look like for kids?
Well,
or I guess for anyone, right?
Yeah. So what I did is I'm trying to train coaches on how to do a quick assessment on 200 kids, right? The way this team organized it is they had 3 coaches total. So I went in and spent 2.5, 3 hours training them on how to do these tests. It's everything from, can they do a single leg squat to a chair? A dorsiflexion test for their ankle to check out their ankle mobility, a side plank in a starfish position to see if they have any abductor or glute medius strength. What else do we have in there? A thing called a Thomas test to see how tight their anterior hips are. So, and what we did is we organized it. We gave them 3 grades and we scored it. And there was a mobility subscore and a strength subscore. And he organized his team according to how they tested. And we literally put this team in, he had 3 different workouts that we organized. Not many coaches would do this. This is rare. So the kids were put in like group 1 because they were super weak, or group 2 because they need to work on mobility. It was awesome. And then all these kids got not a custom program, but pretty customized to what their needs were. And then he retested. Everything that we tested got better except for 1. And let's see if you can figure this out. So we tested at the beginning of the summer. What are kids doing all summer?
Going to the beach, working.
They're active, right?
Yeah.
What are they doing in school all day long?
Sitting.
Yeah. So the only test that did not get better is their Thomas test, which shows the mobility of the anterior hip flexors, quads, and hip capsule, because they're sitting so much. So at the end of the season, they logged in more miles, which would tighten that. But because they're sitting in class for 6.5 hours a day, most of the Thomas tests decreased. And that just goes to show you that sitting is
reinforcing the sitting habit. And I think it was after seeing you and rehabbing my injury that I then walked into the office and started standing. Yeah. It was, I literally think it was the next day that it was like, I'm done with this. What I can say is standing offers up other opportunities, because then you notice that you're not standing straight. You start to slouch on one leg and then
one knee's bent and lean on the
But
hip.
I always like to look at opportunities, right? So now it's showing you, okay, well, I always lean to my right leg. And then when you're home in the kitchen or you're brushing your teeth, you notice that you're on that right leg. And so then you can begin to change things. So we should just get rid of all these desks.
It's,
sitting. It's really detrimental, especially when I talk to people in my yoga classes, like they'll do the yoga and they run and they train either in the morning or at night, and then all day they're just sitting.
Yeah. And I talk about that all the time, because people will come in and my Pawtucket office is basically right in Providence, and we have a lot of people in that area that commute to Boston. So they're either on the train or driving in traffic. Most likely it's about a 2-hour commute there. And let's just say they're a lawyer. 2-hour commute into Boston, sitting all day at meetings on the computer, 2-hour commute back. So they come in and they've got low back pain because they have, let's say, a overly tight psoas muscle in the front, hip flexor. Anyone who sits, it's tight. And anyone who runs a lot, it's tight. So if you sit for a living and you run, it's going to be doubly tight.
So when people say my lower back hurts, it's got to be my lower back. It's got to be my lower back.
Yeah. No, if you give me one muscle to work on for every low back patient that I see for the rest of my career, it would be the psoas. Back in the 90s, it was the hamstrings. Back in the 90s, when I became a physical therapist, I thought like tight hamstrings was the third leading cause of death in the country. Like everyone had tight hamstrings. Everyone needs to stretch their hamstrings. It's bullshit. It's not.
You don't need to stretch your hamstrings, right? No. It's almost But
some do, but no, it's not about that. So this is the psoas. But so let's picture this guy, Mr. Lawyer. So if you add up 14 hours a day sitting, 5 days a week, what's that? 70 hours of sitting a week, right? I can show him the best hip flexor stretch in the world, and he can come to see me for a 30-minute session every week. Am I going to make a huge difference? I would hope to, but he's sitting. See what I'm saying? So I use the phrase, let's take away a negative before adding a positive. So adding a positive is, let's get you stretching that hip flexor. But what if we took away all the sitting? What if you just stood 50% of the time? And standing has its own inherent problems if you're on your feet all the time. So I try to get someone like that to stand. If we can get at them 60% of their day standing and then 40% of their workday sitting, we see a huge difference. And then they sprinkle in this little hip flexor stretch that you can do in a suit or a business skirt. You can do it right at your desk.
What's the stretch? I'm curious.
So it's like
figure 4? Or?
So you're on one knee.
Yeah.
So
you're on one knee.
Yeah. So if I'm on, I can't really do it. No one can see me. But if I'm kneeling down on my right knee, my left foot's out in front, almost like a proposal position.
Okay.
Like pretending you're going to propose to someone. And then you get nice and tall. You do a little bit of a posterior pelvic tilt to open up the front of the hip joint, and it's going to stretch that psoas out. So if you do that, there's a phenomenon in the body called creep. If you're in one position for more than 20 or 30 minutes, you can make microscopic permanent changes in the collagen, the muscles, the tendons, that type of thing. It takes years before those microscopic changes become macroscopic and you're aware of it, but it can be permanent. So if you can jump down and get into that stretch once an hour, once every 30 minutes would be great. Now you can say, I have not been sitting for more than 20 or 30 minutes straight. Perfect. Now you won't let creep set in. You'll see a huge difference in your mobility after stopping that from happening. So add the positive, work on the hip flexor tightness, take away the negative of sitting so friggin' much, and then that's when we can see more better results. I just said more better.
More better.
Holy cow.
But back to your point about, so the transition, this is a good thing because when I transitioned, it opened my eyes. Like I was starting to the standing desk.
Gotcha.
To be more mobile. I started drinking more water. So drinking more water in that transition from standing and sitting, because I did a little transition, was now you drink more water, now you got to go to the bathroom. So now you're getting up.
You have to get up.
So, and you're also hydrating yourself, which is really good.
It's perfect.
So it's a win-win-win.
Yeah.
So
and that's a great coaching tip, and that's what I've tried to do with some people. I literally tell them, just drink more, because they forget to get up or they won't. So I'm like, drink a shit ton of water. You're going to have to get up. So, or get a smaller bladder, because you'll have to get up. Right. It's a built-in timer.
The water consumption, I don't know if you see it, but I see it so much to a point where when I give the run workouts, anything over 45 minutes, really it goes on every workout now. But in the pre-instruction notes, it's like drink 24 ounces of water at least an hour before you get out there moving. It's going to help. It's going to help everything. It's going to help your muscles, your joints, but it's also going to help your blood flow. If you want your heart rate to be low, you need that.
We are 70% water.
Right.
Or 80%.
But I think, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I was always like, I don't want to be too full because I want my coffee. Like I want another coffee, right? Coffee addiction.
There's water in coffee, right?
So this is really good. I think we touched upon some amazing stuff.
Do we go off on too many tangents?
No. I think we're...
Can I give the listeners the Mike Silva hydration lesson?
Go for it. Absolutely.
I'm not a smart dude, so I try to keep things simple. Look at your urine when you pee. If it looks like apple juice, drink more water. If it looks like water, you're well hydrated. Done. Hydration 101. But you can get more technical. And with your athletes, you might have to get more technical. Like some people will measure their weight loss before and after workouts and certain amount of ounces. But for the most part, for the masses if I'm talking to coaches, how can they monitor what their kids drink? Like, tell them to look at their pee. It's that simple.
People listen to this podcast, they're getting this almost in every episode. It's really about taking ownership of your health and body awareness. And what we tend to do as a society is to blame it on things out of our control. We want to put the onus on other people if we just make the commitment, right? If we stand up to our belief system, we were talking about that earlier in the podcast.
But that means we need to take ownership.
Right.
That means we need to grow up a little bit.
And Mike and I were never growing up. We're 46 now, and I don't think things have changed much.
You look like you're 26 still.
I just want to backtrack a little bit
okay.
to when you were starting this business and going all in with Carla. What was your biggest fear? What was the biggest roadblock into...
I can only pick one.
Yeah. No, share. Yeah, if you had a few.
Well, the biggest fear is for the first time in my life being 100% responsible for the income and supporting my wife, my dog, and now my new little human, Jack, at the time. So that's scary. It's like, wait, what if I don't succeed? What if I can't do this? What if? So I can rattle off 20 different, what if this happens, what if that? And again, goes back to Carla. She lovingly calls these ass kickings, where she'll just sit me down and be like, in a nice, loving way, like, shut the hell up. Like, just do this. You know you can do it. Just like, she was definitely the more positive, just go get it. Don't worry. So she actually told me this term. We might have learned it together, I forget, but usually she teaches me all the good stuff. You know the phrase ready, aim, fire? So she kind of got me to look at that different. And now, because of her, I do ready, fire, aim. So I just do it and I figure it out. And that was not me. I'm not wired that way.
No. Oh, Mike, this is so good. Because I think I have extreme hesitation and delay. Because I want to think it through and I want to methodically move forward.
You and I are pretty similar like that.
Yeah, and we need that interruption, whatever it is. And I don't know if you heard of Mel Robbins. She has this system where she counts down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Because your mind has 5 seconds before it's going to inject its opinion in there. And so what she would do, she was struggling getting out of bed in the morning.
Oh, you know what?
You heard this?
Through Carla. Carla taught me this. Like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just go.
And just go. Act. Yeah. She was watching. She woke up and the shuttle was launching, and 5, 4, and it just hit her like, oh my God, can it be this easy? And I can't tell you how many times I've used that
really
over and over again just to get into that. Disrupt the process, disrupt that habit of like, no, I think I need to stand next to the edge of the pool a little bit longer. Maybe my goggles need a little bit more adjusting. Delay. Now it's just show up at the pool, get in, get it done without attachment and get out of the pool. Like get the work done. And I think that's what you're speaking to. And it's certainly something that our significant others have helped us.
Yes. And isn't that why we got married? get the hell out of our own way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's kind of like, I never read this book, but Carla told me about it as well. Eat Your Frog. Have you seen this one?
No.
And it might be a little bit different, but it's basically like if you got something that's important but might not be the most enjoyable thing that you need to do, like if you had to eat a frog every day, wouldn't you want to just get it over with?
Do it first.
So I could be totally butchering that book, and I'm sorry for the author.
The general premise is, you do it first versus like put the frog, 5th or 6th down the list. You just eat.
And then you perseverate over it all day long. Oh, I don't want to eat that frog. And then the rest of your days, you're not even present at what you're doing because you're worried about the frog.
So do you still have challenges like that? Do you still have doubt and fears that creep in?
On a daily basis.
But do you notice them now and able to shift more quickly? Like you don't sit in that...
I can't say 100% of the time.
No, but you're more onto it?
Yes, I'm much more aware, much more mindful in what's going on in my thought process. And if I'm not, I've got a reminder, Carla. But yeah, no. So I'm more aware. I can kind of work through it a little bit better. I would say if stress starts to flood my body a little more for whatever reason, whether it's like, I don't know, maybe the revenue's down in the business or there's an employee issue or something, like then I can see myself not thinking straight, but I can't get out of it, and that's when I got Carla to help me smack me back to reality. If
Carla's not there, do you have any sort of mindfulness practice? Anything where you take a breath?
Yes. I over the past few years have been working much more on my meditation practice.
What does it look like?
What does it look like? I like to do it either first thing in the morning or at the end of the day. And depending on what my schedule's like, I wish I could keep it consistent. I probably could, to be honest with you.
You can.
I know. Thank you.
I think you're realizing as you were saying
as
that.
I'm saying,
I
I'm
see your
like,
face.
shit.
Like, yes, I can be more consistent.
I can definitely be more consistent in time-wise, but it's 5 to 10 minutes of a meditation. I used guided meditation for the most part through Headspace, the app. And then now I don't need the guidance all the time. Sometimes if I know I'm having difficulty sleeping, I'll do it. They have a sleepy time meditation meant to put you to sleep, and I'll do that at night.
Does Carla have a practice?
Oh, yeah. And we were doing it together for a while, but then we realized, and it kind of sucks as a married couple when your schedules are opposite. Like, I got to get up and out, get to work sometimes. So I'll be up and out 5:30. And then during the school year, she's around to get the kids off to school. And then when she's got to get up and out, I'll be around. So when you get kids in the mix, it kind of messes with it a little bit more. But my kids are becoming older and more independent where we don't have to be there quite as often. So hopefully we'll get our groove on and start doing maybe our
sessions together again.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up Jack and Morgan. You living in this life of entrepreneurship and being extremely successful and working with your partner and possibly taking stress home at times and having conversations regularly. How have the kids reacted and do you think the mindfulness practice that you and Carla have has allowed you to sort of maybe slow down and explain things to kids a little bit more, or
I think it's
get ahead of it?
Yeah, I think it's gotten better. But there were times where work was 90% of our day, and our kids would make comments like, "Can you guys not talk about work?" And it's so hard. And when, as you know, we had the small group training gym that Carla opened. So we had an office in Warren, Rhode Island, and then we had the small group training gym in the same place. And for 5 years, she worked so hard. And, she was doing small group classes. She was doing transition programs, wellness coaching. She was bringing in the Vitamix and doing smoothie lessons. She was doing everything, and it was awesome. But it was time consuming. And then I was trying to run the 3 physical therapy offices. She was trying to build that business, and it was just nonstop for 5 years, business. And I don't know, maybe we screwed our kids up and they're never going to be entrepreneurs. I don't know. Hopefully they see more of the successful parts of our career. But yeah, there's been challenges. I think we've overcome them and we're at a much better place now. But what has happened is, when Carla started that, I backed off a little bit and was more of the stay-at-home dad, and she was trying to build that. And then now as the physical therapy practice is growing and I'm working on this other course, Carla's kind of backed off a little bit. So it's just like the seesaw. And thankfully she finds so much joy and value in taking care of the family. I don't have too many friends who come home to a very healthy, organic, freshly cooked meal on a regular basis like I do.
I've experienced a few of those meals. I think I sort of lived at your place at some point or another in the past few years.
When you were home,
days,
So, and she finds so much joy in that, and it's important to her. So she is like the CHO, the chief health officer of our family. And now that she's around, so she's, I hope I'm not speaking for her in the wrong way, but that's a big part of her role, and she loves it. And now her career has transitioned to, she does all self-pay physical therapy. She's not involved with insurance companies at all, which is a huge stress relief. And she does a lot of wellness and nutrition coaching along with her physical therapy. But it's all on a self-pay basis. She sees a few clients a week, so it keeps her professional cup filled, and then she's able to kind of take care of the kids. And even though we have teenagers, a teen in a in between tween, they require a lot. We got to be around. So we're still balancing parenting, marriage, and business.
Yeah, it's intense.
It
can be intense.
Oh yeah, no, it can. It's dizzying at times.
So I want to talk too about your fitness. You were very active in high school, football in high school, basketball in high school for a little bit.
Then track.
Weightlifting, track. You would push yourself to a point of puking.
Vomit. Every race I did over 300 meters.
Now, was that strictly because that's all you knew, or because this is just the way
honestly?
Yeah.
It was strictly because I was not that fast, so I couldn't pace myself. I just had to go balls to the wall every time. I mean, I was pretty good at it, but it's just, and part of it was nerves. I would get so worked up before a race. So then I would just go at it literally 110% every race, and then combination of the nerves and the strain, I would throw up. I remember going to state meets like up in Boston, like at Harvard or some of the bigger tracks out there, and my teammates would have to grab a trash barrel and meet me at the finish line. because when our local meets, I knew where the barrel was, and you could just finish and walk off. With the big meets, you had to sit there at the finish line and wait till they read your number and make sure who you are. And I would be like holding in my vomit, and they would bring a barrel up, and I would just puke.
What did you eat before? Do you even remember what you ate before a track meet?
Probably McDonald's.
McDonald's is what I was totally going to say.
I don't remember. I just know we didn't know anything about
nutrition.
No.
Yeah. So you would push yourself really hard in these meets, and you did track. Did you do track all 4 years?
Yes, I did spring track all 4 years. I did basketball freshman and sophomore year, and then I realized I was a better runner than I was a basketball player because I had to compete with guys like you, who, if you guys don't know, BJ was a stud basketball player. But no, so I remember trying out junior year. I wanted to prove that I could make the team, and I made the team.
I remember this.
Yeah, and then I quit.
And then you quit.
Yeah, I could tell he wasn't happy with me.
Yeah.
Sorry, Al. But and then I just went and did track. So for the next 2 years, so my junior and senior year was football, track, football, track. Those are the 3 seasons.
Did you do anything in college?
You come out of high school, you think you could go pro, right? So I tried to I was going to play football at Springfield College. Talked to the coach, but I didn't get into the PT program, so I was a little discouraged. So I said, screw that, I'm not going. And I still to this day don't know why I ended up at URI. Because I went to URI as a pharmacy major, and I hate chemistry. Yeah. Okay. So I tried to walk onto the team. I brought my VCR tape, my highlight tape that I made, and the football coach was very respectful of my time. He's like, yeah, looks like you were a pretty good high school player. He's like, why don't you come watch practice? We're going live, which means full contact today, and let me know what you think after practice. So URI didn't have a great team, but they were D1. Like, this is legit. So I go out and watch practice. And I was horrified at how big and fast and just bone crushing these guys were. And I'm like, man. And I had already suffered probably 3 concussions at that point. And I came back, I shook the coach's hand. I said, thank you for what you did. Good luck with the season. And then I went and talked to the track coach because, of course, I can't give up. Gave him my times I had in high school. He's like, hey, you know what? Come out, work out with us. We'll see what happens. So I was on the track team for 1 year. I didn't even compete, but just worked out with the sprinters, met some great guys, and then I just realized, I was a good athlete for Bishop Stang High School, and I need to concentrate on my grades, and there's more to life than sports.
What's your relationship with working out and fitness now for yourself, wrapping around how you grew up in this atmosphere of weightlifting and team sports, and now you focus all that energy in building your business, and now you've got kids, and I've never seen you out of shape. So you've always been in shape.
Well, thank you. That's nice to hear. But it's definitely changed. So it went from just getting big and strong and fast in high school. College was just getting big, curls for the girls. I just wanted to look good with my shirt off, to be honest. Wasn't anything about performance or health at that point. I'm drinking beer and living off cans of tuna and pasta. That was basically my whole diet. That's all I could afford, And then when I met Carla in graduate school, she was doing triathlons. So she did triathlons for 20 years. This endurance thing was new to me. Of course, being her boyfriend, I wanted to hang with her, so I would start to run. And then I realized I kind of like running and started doing road races and did one triathlon. And I was basically her road crew. I was more her support team. It wasn't about me. But I started to enjoy running, and that's when I lost a lot of muscle because I wasn't spending much time in the gym, but I was feeling healthy. So that was that phase in like my late 20s, early 30s. Then mid-30s came, and I'm starting to feel not as limber and as lubricated as I used to be, and I have so many old injuries that I got to take care of. So fitness to me now is trying to stay mobile enough, strong enough, and fit enough to enjoy everything I want to do in life. I don't compete anymore. Because with me, kind of like the story about puking, if you start putting me in races, I'm just going to make stupid decisions and try to get to a numeric. I want to make it, I want to drop my 5K below 19 minutes. I want to do that. So,
do you ever have thoughts like that, though? Do you ever have, because you work on all these runners, do you ever think like, I wonder what my 5K time could be
all
now at 46 if I did some training?
Yeah, I do. And I don't know if it's a good thing, but, my body's not, there's certain areas I can't put in the miles like I used to. So I live vicariously through my clients more than trying to do it myself. So with me now, running is time I can spend with Carla. Running is time I can go just off by myself and clear my head. Running's a part of my overall fitness routine, but I've got mobility. I'm only doing strength training probably twice a week. I'm working on mobility 2 to 3 times a week, and I'm running 2 to 3 times a week. I'm on the bike. So it's a little bit of everything.
So I think that's how you've been able to stay fit, because I think for most people, it's all reverse. It's like running 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Maybe strength training once a week. Maybe mobility.
If we're lucky.
Right, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
What I want to say here is I do feel momentum is shifting a bit, so that mobility and strength training are now becoming more prominent in endurance athletes'
Yes.
life. Because a lot of our listeners are endurance athletes. Like they'll run 5Ks and 10Ks, but a lot of them are going long. They're going 50K. They're going 100 miles. They're going Ironman. They're going Ultraman.
Yeah.
Like long stuff.
Well, look at you and Jess. You guys are combining yoga, so a mindfulness, mobility type philosophy and practice with your triathlon training, which is awesome.
Yeah,
so
Jess was onto something. Like people were, she was the only person doing yoga and triathlon when we lived in Boulder.
Really?
Yeah.
And
the only
Boulder's so open-minded. I'm surprised.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's why she created Yogi Triathlon. That's how it was first originally created.
It's awesome. And I think you're right. I think there's only so many times you can hear about something before you realize how important it is. I mentioned before, like the fitness world is all over the place, and some of it's bad, but some of it's good. Like there's a lot of mobility programs, and there's a lot of well-known people touting the importance of mobility. And, there's a lot of people in the running world like myself who are constantly reminding people strength. Like you cannot be strong and resilient without working on strength.
Especially as we age.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, we're 46, but I would have to say, I'm not going to speak for you, but I would say that we're in pretty good shape for being 46 years old, you and I.
You know what? We are, and yet we're kind of totally different in an athletic fitness realm, right? Because you're competing and still doing events that I could not do, even if I wanted to at this point. I'm sure there's nothing I'm doing that you can't do.
Well, that's debatable.
Well, either way, but yeah, no. And I think we both have a passion of being fit and healthy. We both take our nutrition pretty seriously. We both have active wives. Like our careers now are surrounded by health and fitness.
Isn't it funny? Like both our careers now, we're both basically coaches. And,
yeah.
And
slightly different aspects, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's.
And when you were doing your marketing, Clear Pixel Design.
Clear Pixel.
I think I still have the old business card with the blocks.
Do you? Yeah, the blocks.
The blue block. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never. Your journey's been awesome.
Yeah, I never thought I would be in this position, but
I thought you were going to be doing marketing for the yachting center for the rest of your life.
I could have been there.
Right.
I could have been there forever. I could be there now and just working for the paycheck and getting it done, but it doesn't align with me. Like what aligns with me is being healthy and fit and mobile. And I want to circle back to that experience I had where I was attached to the sport of triathlon and injury came in and it took it so quickly from under me.
Yeah. How did you handle that?
Oh, terribly.
I'm going to be the interviewer now.
Yeah.
So tell me about that, BJ.
I think people have ever heard this story.
Right.
But yeah, it was a terrible experience. I was distraught. I was on painkillers, drinking wine, like disgruntled, not knowing what I'm going to do with my life if I can't train. I might even said it to you when I came to see you. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, what if I can't do triathlon? Yeah. What is going to happen?
I remember you came to my house.
And
when we were on Jenny's Lane, and I remember you having a conversation, and you were getting pretty emotional about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're like, this is
the attachment was deep.
Yeah, because who was BJ? He was a triathlete,
right?
Yeah.
And if I can't get out there and do it, who am I? And you and Carla just opened up your home to me and your knowledge and your hearts to the recovery of my second coming in this sport, because now I'm able to teach this to my athletes. Like it come full circle. I'm able to teach them the health and fitness. I'm able to teach them to take that proactive approach to staying healthy. I'm able to help them not attach the end result, remove the watch. Like who cares what the end time is? Whatever time it is, it's going to happen when the time is right. But if you truly love the sport, then you will succeed no matter what.
So do you find as a coach, I know I don't want to veer off track here and ask you the questions, and I'll give you my opinion, that all these wearables that we have, all these metrics that someone can have on a constant basis, More positive or more negative?
I think it's the athlete's relationship to it.
Yep.
And if they have a strong tie to the data and information, because that's all it is, and data information is good as a one point in time to use as a guide. But if your relationship to that information is deep and non-negotiable, then it's really something you need to explore. And there's an easy way to test it. Don't wear a watch for a week and go do all your workouts.
Great.
Right?
Yeah.
That's my take. I don't know what your approach has been.
I think there's I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with it, because as a practitioner, you as a coach, we can get lots of good information. And if the athletes I'm working with keep a good log or they print up, we can track trends. Anytime you crest over 80 miles a week, that's when you start to break down. Maybe you cannot go over 80 miles a week. So having that information is okay, but when it guides or pushes them into decision-making that's not healthy, then
it becomes the dictator.
Yeah, then I don't think it's great. Be depending on the athlete.
Yeah.
If they can see the benefit in what it is and use it for what it is, then I think it's great.
Do you see athletes and do you help them understand that relationship at times?
I try.
Like the door opens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of times, depending on the person.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
they're
a
gonna be shut
perfect
down.
phrase, like when the door opens. Because sometimes I have to talk to people about their weight. If you have a 240-pound marathoner with a torn meniscus, okay, sooner or later you need to talk about the extra weight on their body, right?
Oh yeah, this is good. This is good. So that person who's overweight and he wants that marathon time, right? And he's got this meniscus. Something like zone 2 training, is that something he should be dialing into? Or should he work more on sessions, specific interval sessions, maybe on the treadmill or something, where he's getting that high turnover, feeling what it's like to get that motion, but still work on some endurance-based training? So in your experience?
Yeah, it's hard to answer that because
I know everybody's unique.
Everyone's unique, and I used the example of a meniscus tear. I mean, everyone is different. That's like a snowflake. There's no two meniscus tears are the same. So I have some people, like I'm pretty confident I've got a meniscus tear and I can manage it. When it does act up and I can feel the swelling in my knee, I listen to my body, I back off, I work on my mobility, or I get on the bike more than doing some of the other weight-bearing things. Depending on the person, sometimes the most important thing is getting rid of the pain. So now we're getting more medical with it versus the coaching philosophy. Because what we do know in the science is that although you can push through the pain, because I talk about pain a lot, obviously, in my world, and people say, I can take it, it's fine. Although you can push through the pain, your body will not function the same when in the presence of pain. You will alter the way you use your muscles. You will alter your biomechanics. It's not conscious. You can't control it. So these people who are running through pain are not doing any good for their body. Sooner or later, something else is going to break down. And even though they can tolerate it, because they can, mentally, they've got, I can suck it up. I can suck it up. Well, the only time I have someone suck it up is when they've been training for a year and their event's coming up, and come hell or high water, they're going to do it. All right, so let's talk about what we can do so you can suck it up and get through your event, and then we'll put you back together after. But these people who are doing this on a regular basis and are popping Advil before every run just to get through their run, oh God, that's just a rabbit hole they don't want to go down.
How bad is Advil for you on a consistent basis like that?
All right, so that could be a whole hour conversation, but
give me the cliff notes.
Okay. So Advil's an anti-inflammatory, correct? First stage of healing when you injure tissue is inflammation. So you need inflammation to heal, okay? So you're basically taking this chemical and you're stopping your body's own natural process of healing, right?
Yep.
So that's a negative. The other thing Advil does is it kills the pain. So now you're stopping your healing process. You're masking the pain so you could go out and do an activity and load a tissue that is not healed and can't tolerate the load you're putting on it. Right? It's like when you see the engine light in your car and just pulling the light bulb out so you don't see the engine light and keep driving.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right? Did you solve anything?
No.
No, you just don't.
You just don't see it.
Yeah. It's
or
just,
you don't feel it.
You don't feel it. So there's a time and a place for anti-inflammatories. I'm not saying no one should take them. But never, ever is it a good thing to take Advil or these medications before training runs or regularly just to get through your workouts. Again, going back to someone who, let's say they're doing a marathon for a fundraiser. Like I used to do a lot of work with the team in training for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So this person might have had a loved one who died from leukemia and is trying to raise money, and they raised $20,000 to do the Memphis Marathon, let's just say. And typically 3 to 4 weeks before the event is when everyone, the mileage is peaking. That's when everyone starts to break down. So literally before all the big local marathons, about 3 weeks before, our phones get flooded because everyone's just about to taper, right? But in that case, they're going to do this. They've got an emotional attachment to this. They're raising money. They've got people counting on them. They feel that stress and pressure. All right, why don't you take 2 Advil before, keep 2 in your pocket at the 13-mile mark if you're hurting, bring it in. It's just one day of them masking it, and I tell them, yeah, you may damage the tissue more by doing this, but most of them don't care at this point because they're using more emotions than reasoning. So that's when I would say, okay, let's get you through. We'll put you back together after. So coming from the coaching side, having that knowledge of being aware of how unhealthy it is, never mind what it's doing to the kidneys, and they've done studies where it will impede muscle function in long term. So, okay, fine, your pain's gone, you're able to tolerate this, but your muscles aren't going to behave properly. Never mind what's going on internally and systemically from all.
So much misinformation out there.
There is, yeah.
All right, I want to just ask you a few quick questions.
Okay, I'll keep
Give
it
me
quick.
your opinion.
Oh boy.
Running shoes in general.
Okay.
Are they the problem?
No. So kind of like the joke I hit on earlier where I thought hamstring tightness was the 3rd leading cause of death in the country 20 years ago. I used to think shoes were so important. And sorry for all the shoe people out there. They are important. Know what type of foot type you have. Are you an overpronator or are you an underpronator? Know if you're a heel striker or a forefoot striker. You can get all that information pretty easily at some running stores or go to a health professional. And then get in a shoe that fits that foot type and keep it that simple. When when a shoe changes slightly, like the gel Nimbus
out, they'll buy like 7 pairs of the Nimbus.
So it's not, it's more the athlete. And to be honest, like the name of my business, Foundationperformance, was built on that. When I was doing work with runners and golfers back then, and golfers were spending thousands of dollars on new clubs, better balls. Meanwhile, they have no thoracic rotation and they have a weak rotator cuff. So I should tell them the body is the foundation to your performance, not the clubs. I'm telling the runners it's not about the friggin' shoes.
I'm in just a neutral shoe, but I wear my shoes long. Like I'm in Hoka Clayton's right now. I'm about 800 miles in them. But for me, as
800's a lot. Yeah,
I've been doing a lot. I've been doing this for years, so I'm not saying go out there and do it. What I'm saying is know your body, walk barefoot a lot.
Yes.
Get out of those flip-flops.
Yes.
Have no support, and don't let the shoe dictate your performance.
Yeah. Definitely barefoot training. 5 to 10 minutes twice a week of some sort of barefoot drills, hugely important. Jump rope barefoot. Be barefoot. Get your toes dirty.
Don't go out and run 10 miles barefoot right away.
No.
Yeah.
And don't spend too much energy and time on shoe selection.
Jump rope.
Love it.
Why?
I use it. Okay, the theory I go by. One, it's a good cardiovascular. Your heart rate gets up there. But for me, it's the loading of your body. I like to use it not only in some of the strength programs I develop for runners, but as a warm-up. So if you think about it, and I do an exercise called a running jack, which is similar to a jumping jack, which is all similar to skipping rope, right? But no rope. When you run, depending on your stride, you can have anywhere from 2 to 4 times your body weight slamming into your leg, right? So some people will do these like leg swings and toe walks and heel walks, and they do a couple of exercises, then they go off for their run. Okay, so maybe mobility-wise they did enough to wake up their joints. Maybe strength-wise they did enough to wake up their muscles, but they didn't prepare their body for the impact of running. Jumping rope beforehand, if you think about it, 2 feet are hitting the ground, right? Or even jumping jacks, 2 feet hitting the ground the whole time. They're hitting underneath your center of mass, and you're most likely going to be up on the ball of your foot. All really good things for runners. And it's 50%, the load is cut 50% because you've got 2 feet on the ground, and because you don't have this forward momentum and braking force that's entering your body, it's even less. So you might have 1.5 times your body weight going through your feet jumping rope, but then you divide that by 2. So now you've prepped your plantar fascia, your ankle joints, your knees, and your hips for impact. So it's impact preparation is the way I like to use jumping.
I love that because I give jump rope after the runs. The reason I love everything that you said, and I'm going to actually start incorporating that because it totally makes sense to me. I use it after the runs, and it's not long, and it's usually like double, single, like bouncing back and forth, because it gives me some insight into how my run went. If I'm tripping over the rope, I wasn't really on the balls of my feet. I wasn't really crisp and clean. I'm kind of like sluggish. When I come back on a jump rope and I can bounce right through them, it was a good run. Like I feel like, it's a good day. It was a good day. Like I was pattering it, but I am going to incorporate it now.
Try it before and see if you notice the difference.
Yeah. Good one. All right. Plantar fasciitis. You mentioned it. You did a video on it. It's helped me. It's helped many people on our team.
It's an old video.
But here's the question. So is plantar fasciitis the culprit?
Is it the culprit?
Is it like I have plantar fasciitis, I shouldn't be able to run, or shin splints, like I can't run anymore.
Okay.
Or what is the root of it?
It's such a hard question. Yeah. Okay. And you picked the 2 biggest bucket diagnoses in runner's health.
What? Plantar fasciitis?
Plantar fasciitis and shin splints.
Like let's stick with plantar fasciitis.
What the hell is a shin splint? Like
I've never. Yeah.
Like that's another. Okay.
PF is what we hear the most about,
and it's very common. And if you think about, so the plantar fascia is that thickening of connective tissue on the bottom of your foot. Every time your foot's hitting the ground, you're causing a ballistic stretch to it, and then it recoils. Let's say you do 1,000 foot strikes per mile. You're running 80 miles a week. That's a lot of foot strikes, right? And then at night, when you're non-weight bearing, the tissue shortens and tightens. So the reason plantar fasciitis is so hard to treat and get rid of is because we're constantly irritating it. And in that video, I talk about first step pain. So as soon as you wake up, your foot hits the ground, everyone's like, oh shit, there it is. And you re-irritate it every single morning. Sometimes it truly is plantar fasciitis, which is a breakdown of the collagen in the plantar fascia. It's not necessarily like a tendinitis. They've actually seen more of a breakdown than just inflammation. There's also other tiny muscles in there, which I love getting in and finding that. So there's 2 muscles that attach to your big toe one that attaches right on the inside of where the plantar fascia is. So we'll get a dry needle and pop it in there, release a trigger point in these muscles and release some of that tension. It's a very tough injury to get rid of. It usually goes away. It's called self-limiting. Sooner or later, it'll go away whether you did nothing to it. It just takes a long time. If you run while you're trying to treat it, it'll take longer. But absolute rest might not be the answer either. So fortunately, in one of my offices, I have an Alter-G anti-gravity treadmill. So we can unload someone, or we'll use cross-training if they're not going to come in to use the Alter-G. But we can keep people moving, and you just have to treat what was the reason. Are they overweight? Do they have a really high stiff arch and they have no pliability in there? If so, we got to teach them how to pronate. We got to get them more mobile. Do they have an Alabama floor sucker type of flat foot? You know what I mean by Alabama floor sucker?
Yeah.
Like
super flat.
Super flat. Like if they're walking across the floor, you hear like.
What about inconsistent training? Going out for that long run
once a week and then doing nothing.
And then doing nothing.
Bad. I mean, coaching philosophy, you might not agree with this, but like health and resiliency wise, I'd rather see someone run every other day a certain amount of mileage consistently than doing, okay, Monday I'm going to do 3 miles and then Friday I'm going to do my long run and get in 10.
Yeah, we're proponents of even you can get out for 10, 15 minutes every other day, if not every day, for the athletes that find time limiting. Yeah. Just to keep moving. It's not and you get that long run in. If you can get the consistency going, your body will.
And if you think of it from an injury perspective, it's you're building resiliency. Constant healthy stress to tissue builds strength. It's a thing called Wolff's Law. You can look it up. The more stress you put on the body, the more tissue it'll lay down to make it stronger until you add too much, and that's when injury occurs, right? Yeah. So if you can get this low load stress, even in the injury process, like thank God we have the Alter-G and other things that we can do, adding low load healthy stress to an injury increases the healing. That's why absolute rest is so passé. Like that was back in the 80s. No absolute
active
rest.
recovery.
Active recovery. Yeah.
You've been so generous, and
this is awesome.
Yeah, this is awesome, and I'm sure we'll do it again. So how can people connect with you and find you and see you and get your expert advice?
Okay. So right now, foundationperformance.com, all one word, regular spelling, is the website for our physical therapy practices. michaelsilvapt.com is the site I'm using for more of my public speaking. I'm trying to get out to many, many different coaching clinics, in any running event I can.
If anybody wants to hire you to come in
Absolutely.
and come to their camp.
I love it. I'm spending more of my time now trying to work on the education and injury prevention side, and I've got such a great team of physical therapists that are doing the rehab part for me. So those two websites and myrunstrong.com, the site's not built yet, but that it would be when I start offering the courses. The first course I'm going to be doing is for running coaches to try to teach all the kind of stuff we're talking about, trying to educate coaches on how to open their eyes to these things, not trying to sound like I'm like this elevated
Creating anything new, but you're putting your philosophy together.
Yeah, and trying to explain to them why this, I call it foundation health, is important. Like, you want a strong, resilient, fast team that can't be hurt. They can't be underperforming because they're not rested. So trying to teach that unsexy, the no thank you types of running health to these coaches, and giving them tools and handouts and ways to incorporate it into their training philosophy so they can get that information to the kids, so we don't keep destroying our kids at such a young age, these runners. I've seen too many runners never get through their sophomore year of college because they're so burnt out and so hurt.
Amazing, Mike. You're such a gift to this running world. You and
Thank
Carla. I'm so grateful that we've stayed in touch and have been friends for so long, and we'll continue to change the world
Absolutely.
of performance by getting people to
And keep doing what you guys are doing.
Yeah,
Because
we
it's
will.
yeah,
There's no
like
slowing us
you're
down.
joining two extremely important worlds, and you're doing lots of good stuff for people. This is great.
All right, Mike. Take care.
Awesome. All right, Beach.